My sister tried to set up our widowed dad on a blind date 2 weeks before his wedding. I'm 26, and my brothers are Nate, 24, and Jamie, 20. Our mom died in a car accident when I was 12. It's a defining line of our lives. Before the crash and the long, gray after we're all still navigating. Dad, Henry, was shattered. He's a quiet man, an architect, and he retreated into his blueprints in silence for a long time. We all coped in our messed-up kid ways. I became the little adult, making sure homework was done and lunches were packed. Nate got angry at the world, at teachers, at other kids who still had moms. Jamie was just 4, so his memories of her are like fragments of a dream. The smell of her perfume, the sound of her singing, a feeling of warmth. Dad pulled himself together for us. He learned to braid Jamie's hair for school. He sat through Nate's explosive parent-teacher conferences. He helped me with algebra that made his head hurt. He was our rock, but you could see the loneliness in him, a constant, quiet companion. He didn't date for over a decade. Then, 3 years ago, he met Clara. Clara is 48, a landscape designer with kind eyes and a calm presence. Dad met her when he was designing a community center, and she was planting the gardens. He started smiling more, humming along to the radio in the kitchen. He was careful with us, introducing her slowly. First, it was just mentioning a colleague he'd had coffee with. Months later, she came over for a casual weekend barbecue. Nate and I were cautiously neutral. Jamie, now a teenager, was just happy Dad seemed lighter. Clara never tried to be our mom. She'd bring over weird exotic plants for our balcony, recommend a new sci-fi series to Nate, who's obsessed, or ask me thoughtful questions about my graphic design freelance work. She fit into our spaces without trying to rearrange the furniture of our grief. They dated for 2.5 years. The engagement, when it came last fall, felt natural, like the next page in a book we were all reading together. We were happy for him. At least, I thought we all were. The wedding is set for this summer, a small, elegant affair in the botanical gardens where they first collaborated. Then, about a month ago, Nate started acting weird. He'd make snide comments about the wedding plans. Seems rushed, doesn't it? Or, do you think Dad really knows what he's doing? Always when Clara wasn't around. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe he was stressed about his own job search. But it escalated. Last week, he cornered me in my apartment. "I found someone for Dad," he said, his voice a mix of excitement and manic energy. "Her name is Evelyn. She's a friend's aunt. She's perfect, Liam. She looks like Mom. I mean, really looks like her. Same smile. She's a teacher. She loves hiking like Dad used to. She's around his age. I just think he needs to see what else is out there before he legally ties himself to Clara." I was stunned. "Nate, he's engaged. The wedding is in 2 weeks. What is wrong with you?" "Clara is nice, but she's just nice," he argued, his voice rising. "Where's the passion? Have you ever seen them be truly passionate? Mom and Dad, they were magnetic. They fought, they laughed. They couldn't keep their hands off each other. Clara is like a comfortable sofa. Dad deserved a love story, not just companionship. You're comparing a memory to a real person." I shot back. "And you have no idea what their relationship is like in private. This isn't a movie. This is Dad's life, and he's chosen Clara. He chose her because she's safe and she was there." Nate insisted. "I've already talked to Evelyn. She's interested. She lost her husband a few years back. I'm going to arrange a chance meeting this weekend. I need you to back me up. Tell Dad you think he's moving too fast." I lost it. "I'm not doing that. This is insane and disrespectful. You're going to break Dad's heart and humiliate Clara because you're stuck in some 12-year-old's fantasy where Mom is coming back. She's not, and no one who looks like her is a substitute." He flinched like I'd slapped him. His face crumpled. You don't get it. You never did. You just locked everything away and moved on. Some of us still feel it. He stormed out. That was the start of the silent treatment. Angry, guilt-tripping texts followed. Guess you don't care if Dad settles. Evelyn bakes the same apple pie Mom used to. It was grotesque. I tried talking to Jamie, who was home from college for the summer. He just shrugged, eyes glued to a video game. Nate's always been dramatic. He'll chill, but I couldn't shake the dread. Dad called me, his voice laced with concern. Liam, is Nate okay? He's been short with me, and he completely shut down when Clara tried to ask his opinion on the rehearsal dinner menu. I panicked and mumbled something about Nate maybe being jealous of the time Dad was spending on wedding plans. It was a weak lie, and I hated myself for it. I knew I had to tell Dad, but the thought of causing that pain, of being the one to drop this bomb, made me sick. The breaking point came 2 days later. Nate texted me a photo. It was of a woman, Evelyn, in her late 40s. The resemblance to our mother was uncanny and deeply unsettling. It wasn't just the features. It was the expression, the tilt of her head. It felt like a ghost on my phone. The caption read, "Meeting set for Saturday at the Oak Cafe. Noon. Be there." That's when I knew I had to intervene. I drove to Dad's house, my hand slick on the wheel. I found him and Clara in the backyard, planting a new rose bush together. They were both wearing old clothes, smiling, their hands brushing as they passed the trowel. They looked peaceful, a unit. My stomach churned. "Dad, Clara, can we talk inside? It's important." Clara immediately read the tension on my face. She wiped her hands. "Of course. I'll put on some tea." We sat in the living room, the same room where we'd held Mom's wake. The memory hung thick in the air for me. I didn't know how to start. "It's Nate, isn't it?" Dad asked softly, his forearms resting on his knees. I took a shaky breath. "Yeah, it's worse than we thought." I just let it all spill out. The blind date, Evelyn, the twisted logic, the photo. I showed him the text. Dad's face went from concern to confusion to a horrible, dawning hurt. He stared at the picture of Evelyn, and I saw him pale. Clara, sitting beside him, reached for his hand, but her own was trembling. "He found someone who looks like Rebecca?" Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "And he's arranged a meeting?" Before I could answer, the front door slammed. Nate walked in, his confidence evaporating as he saw the three of us, the solemn tribunal on the couch. Jamie trailed in behind him, sensing the storm. "What's going on?" Nate asked, defiance warring with guilt. Dad stood up, the photo held up on his phone. "Would you like to explain this, Nathaniel?" Nate's eyes widened. He shot me a look of pure betrayal. "You told him." "Of course I told him. What were you thinking?" "I was thinking of you," Nate shouted, turning to Dad. "Of not watching you marry the first nice woman who came along, because you've given up on having a real, passionate love again. Mom would have wanted more for you." The room went dead silent. Then Clara made a small, choked sound and stood up, her hand over her mouth. I need some air," she managed, before quickly walking out to the backyard. That broke Dad. A tear finally tracked down his cheek, the first I'd seen in years. "How dare you," he said, his voice low and shaking. "How dare you presume to know what your mother would have wanted? How dare you use her memory as a weapon to hurt Clara, who has done nothing but show you kindness? She's not Mom." Nate cried, his own tears falling now. "I know she's not." Dad roared, his composure shattering. "I don't want her to be. Your mother was the love of my youth, Nate. She was fire and storm and music. She was also impatient and stubborn, and we fought fiercely. Losing her almost destroyed me. Clara, Clara is the love of my life now. She is peace. She is steady morning light after a lifetime of night. She is my partner. And you wanted to trade that for a look-alike? His voice cracked. You have diminished your mother's memory and insulted the woman I love in one stroke. I am ashamed of you. Nate looked utterly shattered, as if Dad's words had physically broken him. Jamie, who had been silent, finally spoke, his young voice surprisingly firm. Nate, this is messed up. You're messing with Dad's happiness because you're sad. We're all sad, but this isn't the way. I stepped in then, the peacekeeper role ingrained in me. Nate, you need to cancel this. Right now. And you need to apologize to Clara. Dad sank back onto the couch, looking exhausted. The date with this Evelyn woman. Cancel it. Explain the situation. And then we're going to get help. All of us. Nate, defeated, nodded mutely. He pulled out his phone, his fingers fumbling, and typed out a message. We all heard the soft whooshes it sent. Done, he mumbled. Clara came back in then, her eyes red-rimmed but her posture straight. Nate couldn't look at her. Clara, I'm so sorry. It was stupid and cruel. You've always been good to us. I'm just... He trailed off. You're grieving, Clara finished for him, her voice soft but steady. But your grief is not a license to cause pain, Nathan. I love your father. I respect the memory of your mother. I have never and will never try to take her place. I'm just hoping to make a new one beside him. It was the most direct she'd ever been about it. The room held its breath. Dad looked at us all. We start family therapy next week. No arguments. Nate, you'll also see someone on your own. This wound has been festering for too long. In the fraught days that followed, Nate sent a longer, more thorough apology to Evelyn, who, to her credit, replied with grace and understanding, wishing our father well. The first family therapy session was brutal. Nate finally articulated the core of his pain. He was a middle child, the angriest after Mom died, and he clung to the most vibrant, loud memories of our parents together as his anchor. In his mind, any quieter, calmer love was a betrayal of that intensity. He confessed he felt like if Dad moved on fully, it meant Mom was truly, finally gone. In therapy, Dad gently corrected some of Nate's idealized memories, not to shatter them, but to ground them in reality. He talked about his own grief journey, how for years he felt guilty for any moment of happiness, and how meeting Clara didn't erase his love for Mom, but made his heart capable of holding both, the sorrow of loss and the joy of a new beginning. Clara joined the sessions after the first few. She was brave, vulnerable, and clear about her boundaries. She told Nate, I don't need you to love me like a son. I just need you not to resent me for loving your father. Jamie, often quiet, shared how hard it was to have so few real memories, and how he sometimes felt guilty for not being sad enough. I talked about the pressure of being the stable one, and how I'd locked my own grief away to be the support system, which maybe made Nate feel alone in his. It was messy, painful, and necessary. The wedding was postponed, not canceled. Dad and Clara decided they wanted true family harmony, or at least a path toward it, before they celebrated. Clara moved in as planned, and life began to find a new rhythm, a different one. One evening, a few weeks after the blow-up, I was over for dinner. Nate was there too, still quiet but present. After the meal, Clara brought out an old, leather-bound photo album. We all froze. It was Mom's. Henry thought maybe it was time we all looked at this together, she said gently. I'd like to hear about her, if you want to tell me. We sat on the floor, the album open. Nate pointed at a picture of our parents camping, Mom laughing with marshmallow on her nose. She hated camping, he said, a small smile breaking through, but she went because Dad loved it. Dad told a story about how she'd accidentally packed a hairdryer for the trip. Clara laughed, a real warm sound. Then Clara pointed to a picture of Mom in her garden. She had a green thumb, too? These roses are magnificent. She did. Dad said, his arm around Clara's shoulders. You would have loved talking shop with her. In that moment, something shifted. Clara wasn't erasing Mom. She was making room for her memory in our new life. She was acknowledging the love that came before as part of the foundation of the love that was here now. Nate saw it too. He didn't say much that night, but the hard, resentful set of his jaw was gone. The next day, he asked Clara if she wanted to see the hiking trails near the old cabin Dad and Mom used to visit. It was an olive branch, a huge one. The wedding is now planned for fall. It will be simple. Just us, a few close friends, in Dad and Clara's now shared backyard, under the maple tree they planted together. Nate is helping with the setup. He's not best man cheerful, but he's sincere. He's trying. I'm back in my apartment, but I go over more often. Last weekend, Dad, Clara, Jamie, and I were playing a board game. Nate was late when he arrived. He didn't just bring a six-pack for himself. He brought a bottle of the specific natural wine Clara likes. He handed it to her without fanfare. Figured you might prefer this, he muttered. Clara took it, her eyes softening. Thank you, Nathan. That's very thoughtful. He gave a curt nod and sat down. So who's winning? He asked, picking up the dice. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't a speech. But it was a start. The fantasy of our parents' reunion, the ghost of a perfect past that Nate had clung to, was finally laid to rest. In its place was something more complicated, more real, and ultimately more sturdy. A family scarred and stitched back together, learning how to love in the present without forgetting the past. Dad finally has his peace, and we are, slowly, learning how to find ours alongside him.